Welcome back. Justin, before the break, we've been talking about regulation in Canada, regulating crypto currencies. I want to get your thoughts on China, though, because they seem to be taking a very hard stance. They're shutting down exchanges. I just read Singapore now is limiting access to retail investors. What are your thoughts?
Um, it's really interesting. China specifically, we've seen this happen so many times over the years, and if you've been in the space, you for a while, you'll have noticed this. It goes from a point where they are the largest mining operations, they have the most clients in exchanges around the world, and then they say we're banning it. Everyone gone. And then a few months go by and it starts coming back again, and then they ban it again. And then they say it's okay, and we get a tweet from one of the high officials in China, and I've seen the market go from 18,000 to 30,000 overnight just off one tweet that happens there. And this was back in the day. It's interesting to see this. I don't know what their stance and how it will actually pan out in the long run, but I think that they're going to need to. It's such a large population, and the fact that we're trying to decentralize finance, blocking them from that, stopping from that is kind of antithesis to cryptocurrency and to, I think humanity, in my opinion. So we'll see where it lands over the next little while, but I do think that they'll soften that when they find a way to do it properly that fits within their, country regime, which is good or bad. We'll decide that as the time comes.
Yeah. Let's explore then the pros and cons, if you will. Those who are against regulation went to crypto because it was decentralized, right? They didn't like how fiat currency had been regulated. You can argue that it has been manipulated by central banks. Do they have a fair point?
I think there's lots of things that have gone on over time that we have to look back at for good or for the worst, I guess. I do think there is a point, and ethos is sort of the reason why I got into crypto at the beginning. There's two versions: ethos, decentralized, no government, I don't want control. The other is greed. So you have to look at that, and there's a different market that people coming into it now are looking at as an investment class, which is where it's gotten to with regulation coming into place. But if we look back to the past, they do have a fair point. At the end of the day, why are we subject to walking here, especially here in Canada, walking into a bank, giving them all this information because I want to send $1,000 and I have to do that by a wire, call it 4,000 outside of an email money transfer. I have to actually physically go in there. I have to give them all this data. They have to go. They have to get it approved in the bank. Then have to go to compliance platform to go get them to approve it. And then it may go out that day, go out the next day. We have no idea where our money's sitting. And eventually it might get to where we want to go. That's really not how anything goes on in any industry today. We have instant access to information. Why don't we have that with our finance, something that's most important to each of our lives outside of health? So I see it as we need to get past that. We are disrupting banking services. That's why we're having a hard time in the banking industry taking on customers like ourselves, who are a publicly traded company. We are regulated by multiple entities around the world for where we do business. And yet a big five Canadian bank won't take us because the risk appetite isn't there.
Interesting.
Seems odd to me.
Yeah. So what is the happy medium then, Justin? So if that's even possible, right? Where do we absolutely need regulatory oversight?
I think that we do need regulatory oversight. I won't say I agree with you if that's what you're saying, and I think that is the case. We have to protect Canadian investors. I would say that in any industry, and we're no different. We're custodians of their money, their fiat or their crypto, and we should be doing the right things, and we should have that oversight. That oversight should not come on the back of the inability to innovate and give products that are safe and secure to those who want them. The fact is that what we're doing with regulatory situation that we have here in Canada today is we're driving customers away from the Canadian market, something that they can actually have their hand on, look at, audit, and understand, to venues around the world to get the items that they want that there's no jurisdiction over here in Canada.
So do you mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah. So we only have 30 seconds to the break. Do you mean fraud protection is a big one?
Totally. Fraud protection is a big thing here. We stand for that. We actually have a dedicated team member who all they do is call people 60 years old, 60 years old and older who've sent $10,000 or more to ensure they're not having part of an elderly abuse or they're being scammed through fraud. And we've saved, I think, over the last quarter, over $800,000 from
Okay.
being scammed or fraud back into their pockets.
All right, we'll take another break. Still lots to uncover. Stay with us.